Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So Michael Arrington, I know some of you guys know who he is. Some of you might not know who he is. He's the founder of TechCrunch, Crunchbase, and Arrington XRP Capital. Okay, and he recently wrote a blog here that has to do with cryptocurrencies and the fact that it will take years for smart people to understand cryptocurrencies. Now, I thought to myself, if you have an afternoon break at work, maybe this is the kind of video for you. I'm going to start reading this blog post. It's fairly lengthy. I'm going to read most of it, not all of it. And then I'm going to go into a theory about XRP and Ripple later on in this video. So guys, take it easy, sit back and relax. This is Michael Arrington's take on cryptocurrency and the fact that, again, guys, we are early adopters and it will take years for smart people to understand cryptocurrencies. I guess that makes us really smart people, right? In 2017, my curious interaction with cryptocurrencies evolved into a full-blown obsession. At the beginning of the year, I owned a few Bitcoin and Ether and had made a few early-stage investments in crypto-focused startups at my venture fund. By the end of the year, I was all in, completely focused on crypto and raising a $100 million crypto-focused hedge fund. Boy, that escalated quickly. That was only in 2017 when you and I, a lot of us, got into crypto for the first time. This was either a profound career change or not, depending on how you look at it. I've been involved in technology since I left law school at 25. First as a lawyer for startups, then as an entrepreneur, followed by founding TechCrunch, and most recently as a venture capitalist. Obsessing over crypto and blockchain startups and currencies isn't just a small course correction in a long career in technology. It's a profoundly different thing that I'm doing, a hard break from the past. And this is just the beginning, for real. Focusing on crypto today is as different from what came before as focusing on the internet in 1995. And guys, we've heard this argument before. People really thought Netscape, Amazon, Yahoo, Google, and other 90s startups were little more than toys back then, not real tech at all. And many investors balked at the notion of investing in those cute little hobbies. The entrepreneurs that invested, that thought the internet was the future, are the tech leaders we all know and love to hate today. Either crypto is just a blip like CD-ROM content in the early 90s, or it's a for-real revolution in the making like the internet. Sometimes the people laying the groundwork for the revolution aren't even aware of how big their ideas can get. In late 2005, I had a barbecue at my home in Northern California. It was the first of many TechCrunch barbecues, and YouTube co-founder Chad Hurley was there. YouTube was a few months old at that point. It was unquestioningly a popular website, but it was burning cash like crazy. Investors weren't that excited about pouring money into that fire, and it wasn't clear YouTube would survive long. I asked Chad what he'd do if YouTube didn't work out, and it wasn't a rude question. He was less than sanguine at the time about YouTube's prospects. He had ideas for different startups when YouTube closed down. A year later, Google acquired his company for $1.65 billion. Today, YouTube is a huge contributor to human culture, such as it is. Crypto today is like the internet in 1995, and guys, we've been saying this for months now. A tired argument, I'll admit. Or like YouTube in 2005, very cool, but perhaps doomed. Very few of us take it very seriously. Obviously, I take it seriously. I'm not just armchair prognosticating. I've staked my career on it. But why do I believe this? And so guys, this is a guy who has gone in, he has had experience in the tech world, and he has gone all in on crypto. It's hard to imagine a world different than what we currently have today. All of our lives, or our parents' lives at least, we've lived in a world of fake money. Fiat money with no underlying value is effectively forced on us by the state with its monopoly of violence. Money is what the government tells us it is, and we've become accustomed to it losing value every year because economists tell us that some inflation is actually good for the economy. In some countries, inflation has become so intense that entire economies have been lost. In others, the pernicious nature of steady, unrelenting inflation is to simply steal little by little everything that its citizens have ever saved. And then it gives a graph down here with Germany and the value of one gold mark in paper marks over the years. I'm going to skip over that. Our ancestors who understood that fiat currency always fail would be horrified to our complacence. The gold standard was ditched when governments realized that the only way to fund war was through inflation, and the only way to inflate was to make sound money unsound. Fiat money means war. war means fiat money. The belligerents in World War I realized that to wage total war, they had to leave the gold standard behind. They were able to take control of their entire economies with massive inflation. The era of total war began and the era of sound money was over. Okay, guys, and then he goes on into what the United States did. I'm going to continue down here. So if competition among states will not create hard money, what will? Technology. Bitcoin is more gold than gold is. It is the most perfect money ever conceived. I could go through the arguments made by others, but if you want to go to the best arguments I've read for this, buy a copy of the Bitcoin Standard. Okay, so he talks a little bit about Bitcoin and then he says, I speak at a lot of crypto conferences as you might expect, but I also attend a lot of more general technology and investing conferences. And I listen to what people have to say about crypto. Remember, maybe 50 million people own cryptocurrency today. That's less than 1% of the world's population. The other 99% of the world are still figuring it out. And then he goes on to talk about how, outsiders, the other 99%, see the 1% and how, we're kind of seen as religious zealots who never stop talking about their God, right? So, I think to a lot of people, we are kind of seen as these fanatical cryptocurrency types who just have crypto on the mind. Probably some of us more than others. Clearly, my family thinks I'm a little nuts for going so deep in crypto. Nevertheless, I'm on Michael Arrington's page. I believe in it as well, guys. I'm going to continue down here. And of course, I will link the article in the description if you guys want to read the full thing. Imagine someone interested in learning more about crypto, dipping their toes into crypto Twitter or the crypto channels on Reddit. This happens and they flee as fast as they can. The way crypto people talk to each other, the things they accuse each other of, really isn't seen anywhere outside of religious fights or political discussions in the US or Europe. And so, yeah, it can get pretty brutal. And that was another reason why I wanted to talk about this, because you've heard that before. This is like akin to tribalism in some regards. People get their backs up based on, something that somebody on Twitter may have said about their cryptocurrency, so they retaliate in nasty ways. Guys, this is not necessary. This is going to be a future where many cryptos succeed, and we are going to be part of this revolution together. And this is kind of why I don't really get why there are trolls trolling the channels or anything like that. There are going to be a lot of cryptocurrencies that do well, whether you like it or not, whether you are a Bitcoin maximalist or not, whether you love XRP and nothing else or not, whether you have spread your wealth among 100 different cryptocurrencies or not. The fact of the matter is, cryptocurrency as a whole will succeed. So Michael Arrington goes on to say, and some of these experiments are grand. Beyond Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, the platform that has shown what smart contracts can do, and which is now getting a second wind with decentralized finance. Or Ripple, experimenting with the use of XRP as a payments platform for cross-border payments, trying to speed up those transactions while cutting costs dramatically. Or any of the thousands of other experiments being conducted by smart people trying to do their own thing. Crypto is and should be a big tent allowing all comers, and we need to give way more credit to those trying new things. If an experiment is a fraud, it will be a fragile one and will not stand the test of time. Raging on Twitter isn't going to expedite that process. It only makes people look unstable and it drives people away, slowing the adoption of crypto planet-wide. And guys, this is all part of it, right? We are so close to the finish line. We need regulators to understand that we are not crazy. Well, I think they don't really care about crypto Twitter too much, to be honest with you. But many of us in the community have maybe conveyed that perception at the beginning. I think governments and regulating bodies are coming to realize what cryptocurrency can do and the benefits of cryptocurrency for the larger economy. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. It's quite a long article, guys. Again, I will link it in the description for those of you guys who are interested in reading further. But I did want to read you this. This from XNEO at XRP_Anderson on Twitter. And this is his theory on Ripple. And I couldn't agree more. I covered a similar idea like this in a former video, but he brought it up and I actually believe this too. Ripple is kind of the necessary evil, and banks don't actually like them. This is my Ripple conspiracy theory, he says, and their big connections with central banks and the IMF. I'm just going to be blunt. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe the largest banks like Citi really likes Ripple that much, along with XRP. He goes on by saying, reasons I'm saying this is firstly because Ashish Birla has said Citi told them that they are their enemy at a meeting. That's news to me. I'd like to find that article that points to that. Why I think this is so: Ripple along with XRP brings disruption. The flow of funds won't be controlled by the largest banks with RippleNet and settlement through XRP. These giant banks take out large fees for smaller banks to hold Nostro for them. A bank like Citi can control the flow of funds and make money doing so. Control as well as fees. Very high barriers of entry for these Nostro holding banks. Through on-demand liquidity, you would massively lower the barriers of entry for the new money transfer firms to enter the market. It will be much easier to open up new markets since you don't need the same bilateral relationships as today through RippleNet. And guys, I don't know if you remember, Brad Garlinghouse mentioned this in, I think it was a Kara Swisher interview. Yes, Kara Swisher interview, where he talked about first-tier banks and second-tier banks. And the smaller banks love Ripple, but the first-tier banks don't. And if you don't know what they are, I'm just going to read you this real quick. Bank tier size. So that is the size of the bank in relation to other banks, depending on the relative size of the overall banking market in terms of total banking assets as provided by the balance sheet of the bank. So we've got first-tier and second-tier banks. Essentially, first-tier banks have all the money. They're the richer banks. They do more business. And they are essentially the gatekeepers for the second-tier banks so that the second-tier banks can use their Nostro and Vostro accounts because there is limited liquidity. Some of these smaller banks, they don't have the resources to perform cross-border transactions. So what they do is they'll pay a first-tier bank a fee to use their Nostro and Vostro accounts. Well, now that Ripple has come along and now that they're democratizing this, first-tier banks are kind of getting their backs up because they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. We have held the key to Nostro and Vostro and we've been making money off this for decades now. Why are you ruining that for us? So I hope you guys are following me. So he goes on to say, this is XRP Anderson, more companies means higher competition, which benefits the consumer through lower prices and better service. But it also means a loss of control from banks like Citi. They would thus likely not want this to happen. I'm sure they don't really care about remittance since the sums are tiny in comparison to what banks send. But what happens when small and medium-sized banks start settling in XRP? Who will they extract fees from in Nostro? Also, sure, there will be cost savings associated with settling with ODL for the mega banks as well, but two factors I don't know. How much are the Nostro fees they charge, and how much will the profit margins get squeezed from the new entrants into the market? Higher competition for much lower barriers of entry will lead to profit margins getting lower and sending money. Also, the large-scale disruption is likely something that they see as a threat. This is why I see this as likely that the very largest banks would fight this disruption. Now, Ripple is connected to the IMF, central banks, BIS, etc. I believe these entities are very aware of all this. It would make sense to me if they would try to help usher in this change. To me, these entities would likely understand the benefits to the economy at large by removing the friction in sending money and to slowly remove the Nostro-Vostro system of today. They would likely understand that the megabanks would fight this. But initiatives such as opening banking and Basel III proves to me that banks like Citi do not rule the world. These are my beliefs in what is going on. And I couldn't agree more. I think that a lot of this theory has a lot of basis in reality. We've heard it even from Brad Garlinghouse back when he did that Kara Swisher interview. So internal strife within banks. Of course, small to medium banks will love this idea, but bigger banks who accumulate revenue off those small to mid-sized banks are not going to be happy with this. Could that be partially why regulation is taking so long? It's an interesting question, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.